November 2025. It's a little bit later. This is section 1904 after dark. I guess it's going to be dark soon. We're starting this podcast past 3 o'clock. It's never been done before, even when we've had two podcasts in a day. I think we were a little bit earlier in the afternoon, but we had a lot of circumstances. So we've now made our way here to the live pod, which is available on Twitter, on YouTube. I just heard the notification from the Discord channel that John has posted that we are live. I would say our apologies. We'll apologize perhaps at the end of the podcast, depending on the quality of this pod. It is the weekend recap, even though most of your Monday's already gone. I had some scheduling conflicts pop up earlier this morning. John had some scheduling conflicts pop up in the afternoon. But here we are. Section 1904. This is a free podcast on Mondays. If you like what you hear, or if you don't like what you hear, but you still want to hear what we have to say for the remainder of the week, why don't you consider a subscription? Section1904.com, the Discord channel that we reference constantly, front row seat newsletter delivered to the inbox each and every day. Working on some special events, even as soon as this weekend, trying to put some touches on all of that and many, many more things. John, how was your weekend? Did you stay dry? Did you have any water damage? Did your weep holes disappoint you?
I honestly don't even think I have weep holes. It seems like an anatomy question. My weekend was good. I stayed dry. I think there was some going out in the rain and jumping in the puddles with my 7-year-old daughter who loves the rain. But outside of that, I stayed dry. I watched a fair amount of football, a fair amount of basketball. It was good. I caught up on a lot of stuff. Caught up on things around the house that needed to get done. Caught up on a couple work things that needed to get done. It was a productive but still semi-relaxing weekend. That being said, I really missed SDFC this weekend for whatever. I think it's because like baseball's finally dead. This is like kind of like the first weekend where there's no SDFC and there's no baseball, not even like a World Series to watch, really. Maybe there was a week there where there wasn't, but it just felt like all I really had this weekend was football and basketball, and I needed a third sport.
World Cup qualifying. Kind of exciting this past weekend, even if you were just watching it through the lens of what are SDFC players doing? What is Anibal Godoy doing? What is Anders Dreyer doing? What are those guys doing? Today, I think it was Patty McNair. I haven't checked the scores since we were scrambling around, but you could have just done that through the lens of what are my SDFC players doing in World Cup qualifying. So you could have. I guess I should have called you Sunday morning at 5:58 a.m. when I woke up to watch Ireland and Hungary and said, John, get yourself in front of a television because you're going to want to watch this. This is an amazing thing that's going to happen here in a couple of hours. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Part of the reason why we're so late today is because SDFC is training today. So the schedule with them playing the semifinal playoff game against Minnesota United a week from today on Monday, the schedule was put out kind of late. So I got notification to get myself out there to Saquon so that I can do the interviews for the midweek show. So I scrambled out there to get Mikey and to get Corey Baird, who's a really interesting guy, which I could explain here in a moment. And then they were playing a scrimmage, so it took a little longer. And then there was this terrible car accident on the way back on Willow Road. I had to drive in parts of San Diego County that I've never driven before just to get back to Imperial Beach. I was through El Cajon. I was on the 8. I was in places that normally I wouldn't have to commute through in order to get to SDFC, to get to Saquon from where it is that I live. But I guess there was some sort of horrible wreck and California Highway Patrol couldn't really do anything about it. I don't know. But in terms of being able to open one lane of the road and let half of us through. Anyway, it's not about my inconvenience. Hopefully everybody's okay. But that was a big part of it. And yeah, like you, I got thrust into some domestic activity. Once my wife figured out that she couldn't ride horses this weekend, it was, let's clean out the pantry. Let's do lots of laundry. Let's do things like that. So I will say we're very proud of our clean pantry, John. We went to town getting rid of things that had expiration dates of 2024. So it was probably a healthy exercise that was long overdue, afforded the opportunity to do so and accomplish this because of the weather and because my wife didn't get to go horseback riding and I didn't have an SDFC game.
I did a fair amount of cleaning toilets and bathrooms and showers and bathtubs and counters and sinks. That was my cleaning. I also did a fair amount of cooking because it was raining. Saturday was I made chili from scratch. I made cornbread from scratch to go with the chili. Turned out wonderfully. Just to update you on a thing you mentioned earlier, Paddy McNair plays for Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland, yes, the north
They
of Ireland.
they won 1-0 today over Luxembourg.
Okay, that's
There's your
good.
update.
That is good. That I think means that Northern Ireland is going to be playing in a playoff, just like Ireland, the Republic of. So that's good news coming up in March. We'll see how that unfolds in terms of the draw coming up a little later on this week. So yeah, that was me. That was my sort of situation. I mean, it never takes this long to get out there, but training took a little bit longer. Didn't get any sort of update. Chucky Lozano ended up leaving injured, playing for the Mexican national team. I did not get an official update, but Mike Ivadas, I did ask him about it, the head coach at SDFC. He seemed to think that it wasn't serious. Those were his words. He said them on the record. The interview will be Wednesday, 6 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760. But he did seem to think that thankfully it's nothing serious and he's got a chance to play on Monday night, the next playoff game, the semifinal game. I was questioning whether or not he would start, whether he was healthy, whether he was not. I don't know that this determines any such thing. And I've never known Mikey to be misleading at all about injuries with me, just in an attempt to confuse people or try to mislead people like, oh, if I say that he's going to play and then he doesn't play, well, then I've really pulled one over on the opponent. He told me that there were 3 other players who were not going to play. I mean, he told me that Willie Kamato's not going to be ready to play and Aiden Harangi's not going to be ready to play. But he did leave open the possibility that Chucky Lozano would play. I probably shouldn't say all of this here on a Monday, since this is part of why I want people to listen to the SDFC Midweek Show on San Diego Sports 760. But I feel like that's an update that people would appreciate. I mean, if you waited this long to listen to this podcast, we might as well give you something that we couldn't have given you had we recorded at 9 or 10 o'clock this morning. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I did kind of miss it. I mean, I did feel good to be productive and to cook a little bit and to watch some sports and watch a little college football and suffer through some NFL yesterday. Man, I'm not sure what's going on with that league. I don't know.
Did you see the Chargers? Actually, I thought of you this morning because, God, like 2 months ago now, we were making fun of the fact that the Union Tribune still publishes Nick Canepa's Chargers report card. And I did my own Chargers report card where I gave them an F for everything. And I said, every week I'm going to give them an F for everything. People on TikTok hated that, by the way. They came at me. All the Chargers fans on TikTok came at me for that. But I noticed this morning in the Union Tribune, Nick Canepa's report card gave the Chargers an F for everything because that's how bad they were against the Jaguars, which I just found very delightful.
I feel like they've had a couple long flights home. This is not their first East Coast trip where they've had to fly home after taking a beating. Does that sound right? I'm not going to click on their schedule and find out if I'm accurate. I feel like they've had a couple of long flights home after some results that on the East Coast that they took a beating.
It's disgusting that I know this without looking it up. They've played 4 games on the East Coast this year. They have now lost to the Jaguars and the Giants, and they came close to losing to the Titans and the Miami Dolphins, a game that is still very funny to me because the Chargers are like, yeah, at least we didn't lose to the Dolphins. The Dolphins took the lead with 46 seconds left in the game. It is still, like, to me, that is a loss that you got lucky enough that isn't showing up in the win-loss column, but that's a loss. You lost that game. You just got really, really lucky in the last 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, I had one of those fantasy football moments where I have the quarterback for Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, and my opponent had Saquon Barkley. Did you watch the Sunday Night Football game?
I did, because I also have Jalen Hurts and I also have Saquon Barkley, and I was going up against someone who had Who did they play against last night? I watched the Lions. I was playing against Jahmyr Gibbs, so I watched this game.
So it didn't matter to you who got that touchdown in the first or second quarter when Saquon Barkley is initially ruled to have scored a touchdown. Then they review it, tush push, Jalen Hurts. That was the difference of victory between me and my opponent who had Saquon Barkley. So that's about the most NFL that I'm capable of giving you. That's all I got. So the rest of it to me, I did watch some Red Zone, but tried to get out of the house a little bit, went outdoors, enjoyed some sunshine.
There's only one game that matters this week, Darren. There's only one game that matters this week, and it's starting in about 2 hours, and that is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. It's going to be a terrible game, but hopefully an easy win for my Dallas Cowboys.
For your Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the last time we saw the Dallas Cowboys, wasn't that the game? Then a couple of days later, that guy ended up dying by suicide, right?
Correct. Yes.
And they just happen to have had a bye?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, get back out there on the field, I guess. Is the moral of that story.
Yeah.
Get back on out there. We set it up on Friday. By the way, I do want to give a quick shout out to Cesar Hernandez, Alex Pena, Tony Chiva. We did have a little SDFC soccer media happy hour on Friday at 3 Punk Ales in Chula Vista. So that was fun. I appreciated that invite. Abe was there as well. So thank you to those guys for the invite. That was a bit of fun on a Friday night to get the weekend going before it actually started raining. We solved a lot of problems, so you'll all be happy to know. This week upcoming, we're going to have Tijuana Juarez Thursday. That's a playoff game. San Diego State's going to be at home. It's senior night against San Jose State. SDFC will play on Monday. The Formula One Grand Prix is going to be in Vegas, and we are trying to put together some sort of watch party for that. So those are the four main things for me, respectfully, John, towards you and the Dallas Cowboys and the Vegas Raiders coming up. We did say on Friday, though, that SDSU had the stage to itself. San Diego State had the stage to itself with Boise State. And I can tell you, anybody that's listening to this podcast, things were getting lively, shall we say, on the Discord channel, because I'm not sure everybody loved the way that you and I have framed some of the success that San Diego State has had this season. San Diego State is 8-2. San Diego State played a game on Saturday night in which the weather was terrible. It was awful. Now, it was great if you were watching from the couch, which I was, because I like watching games where the weather is a factor. I've always said it. I like watching soccer when it's raining a lot.
It's great. Yeah.
I do. I enjoy it. Other people don't like it so much, but I do, especially in San Diego where we don't really have any exposure to this. San Diego State played in at times what appeared to be a monsoon in Mission Valley. Won the game pretty handily, I thought, in control the entire match, in control the entire game. Took down Boise State, now find themselves alone in first place in the Mountain West Conference and inside track to hosting the Mountain West Conference Championship game, which is scheduled for December 5th. Probably going to be at Snapdragon Stadium. It would take a lot for there to be two events that weekend scheduled for Snapdragon Stadium. The Mountain West Conference title game Friday, MLS Cup Saturday. We've talked a little bit about what would happen if those circumstances were to occur. And what we were told here, Section 1904, you can feel free to spread this around if you want. The Section 1904 podcast was told that San Diego State, the Mountain West Conference title game would be held at Petco Park on Friday night. MLS Cup would be held at Snapdragon Stadium. I haven't seen any official word or confirmation on that, and I don't think it's worth a ton of time because if SDFC advances to the MLS Cup, they're most likely going to have to play it in Cincinnati, in Philadelphia, or in Miami. The only way that they can host MLS Cup is if somehow, some way, NYCFC represents the Eastern Conference. Then we'll have to talk about how things will shake out in terms of who will play where when that weekend arrives. But we're not there. You wrote about the game. I think the headline that you used at Section 1904 was San Diego State wins a snoozer or a snooze fest or something
snooze
like
fest
that.
Is what I went with, yes.
I think people, a handful of people objected to that. I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to say. Here's the thing about San Diego State. And, you know, there's a phrase sometimes that, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I think a lot of people think about San Diego State and football, and they ask themselves, is the juice worth the squeeze of talking about it? The great thing about hosting a podcast is you and I can talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. I don't have a program director over my shoulder telling me that I have to talk about X, Y, or Z.
Right.
We don't have a sales staff saying that you have to talk about fill in the blank. You and I get to talk about whatever we want to talk about. And we have said in this partnership called Section 1904, we are not going to talk about things that we don't want to talk about.
Right.
And we're not here to check a box and talk about San Diego State football. You and I are talking about it not because we feel like we have to, but because we have felt like we've wanted to talk about it. And I think that you are fair when you say it is hard to know how good this team is at 8-2, because there are circumstances that happen and seem to happen on a regular basis, most recently with Boise and weather and a backup quarterback, and Fresno and a backup quarterback. And are some of these teams that they're playing and beaten, are they good? And none of that is to take away from their success. I don't think. I mean, you can speak for yourself. You're an adult. None of that is taken away from their success. Their success is that they are in line to win a Mountain West Conference regular season and hopefully win in the Mountain West Conference title game. And they have a real outsider shot of making the college football playoff. According to ESPN's power rankings, they have a 1.2% chance. There's like 4 or 5 teams that are ahead of them. We'll get a new college football ranking out tomorrow night, Tuesday night. But I do ask myself, like, what are we talking about here with San Diego State? I mean, like, their quarterback threw for 17 yards, and it's not just that game. Their passing game, John, is ranked 117th in the in college football. So it's not like we're just singling out some game where circumstances dictated that they needed to just pound and pound and pound and run the ball a million times. I don't personally have any issue with this style of football. I actually grew to really appreciate the way Rocky Long coached football at San Diego State. He won 3 Mountain West Conference titles. He's a 3-time Mountain West Coach of the Year. They won a lot of football games. He went 81-38 in the Mountain West. He's the winningest coach in the history of the Mountain West. I don't think that this team is as good as those teams that I saw with Rocky Long, but they're not playing those teams. So I think it's okay to have several parallel conversations about this team is in line to win the Mountain West. This team is figuring out ways to win when they've been shorthanded. This team has really turned a corner. It won 3 times last year. Now they're up to 8. I think most of us would have said, hey, if you can make a bowl game, that's probably pretty good. That's a pretty good turnaround. They beat Boise State. That should always be celebrated. They defeated a Power 4 team. That should always be celebrated. They beat Fresno State and shut them out of Fresno State. They won back the old oil can. That should always be celebrated. But I also do think there is room in the conversation to say, like, man, it's not always the most aesthetically pleasing looking product out there. And, they probably have some room to build, to grow, and hopefully those things continue. But that's a good win. I do think that is a good win. And I do agree also that it was kind of a snooze fest. It just, just kind of wasn't too pleasing on the eye.
Yeah. And the Discord was giving me hell because they were like, you're not giving them credit for these wins. And, they're flirting with the college football playoff. Yeah, I'm also not sitting here telling you that Hawaii's better than them because Hawaii won. There's a game in the rain where they were missing, their top cornerback. They had just lost their middle linebacker, and they were kind of looking ahead to Boise State. I'm not sitting here telling you Hawaii's a better team, but Hawaii beat them. And all the SDSU people that are like, you're not giving them credit for beating Boise State. You're not taking anything away from them from the fact that they literally shit their pants in Hawaii last week. But it always comes back to the quotes that enrage me. There was a quote that I saw in the UT this morning, not the actual paper. Nobody reads that. This was written by Kirk Kenny. This is what he wrote. When SDSU and Boise State got together last season and the Aztecs were beaten 56-24 on the Broncos' blue field, it spoke to how far apart the two programs were at that moment in that time. SDSU was in the midst of a 3-9 year, its worst season going back nearly 2 decades. Boise State was on the way to making the expanded 12-team college football playoff as the number 3 seed, its finest season dating back 2 decades as well. Quote from SDSU coach Sean Lewis. It's funny. A year ago, a lot of people talked about the gap between our two programs. That gap doesn't seem too significant now, does it? What are we doing? Like, I understand that the 8-2 Aztecs are better than the 3-9 Aztecs, right? My point is, I have no idea how much better they are than the 3-9 Aztecs, because outside of that Hawaii game, they have gotten every single lucky break that you could possibly ask for in terms of injured quarterbacks, teams changing quarterbacks right before they face them. They never seem to play against the best version of the team they're playing against. And for Sean Lewis to say that after beating a quarterback who just had his first ever career college football start, who started as a freaking walk-on 2 years ago, is like, it's one of those like, oh, you're the tallest midget in the room thing. Like, really? Do we need to be that proud about the fact that Boise State has gotten worse? Or is he simply looking at the record and saying, look, our record is the same as Boise State now, therefore we're as good as last year's Boise State team? All of this is like, you're trying to pat yourself on the back for A, taking advantage of the opportunities in front of you, and you should, but B, for just good luck. They've had so much good luck this season, and no one wants to admit it. And I'm the bad guy for being like, this is essentially a Rocky Long Aztecs team that has gotten lucky. Tell me it's not a Rocky Long's Aztec team that has gotten lucky.
Like, but here's the thing. It's not even a Rocky Long team. I covered the Rocky Long teams. This team they don't run the ball the way those teams did. The defense and special teams, quite honestly, aren't as good. By the way, have you heard that? Because you read the Sean Lewis clip. Have you heard it? Because I just heard it driving home on John and Jim.
No, is it?
And I read it this morning too, and I chuckled a little bit. I'm like, good for Sean Lewis. If he wants to pump up the program, who am I to disagree, right? You are trying to sell a program here.
You
are trying to sell it. So, if you want to take your opportunity to flick the ears of Boise State after you beat them, go for it. But the way he said it was, you're not doing it any justice, because he was really into that quote. He was really into that. And I heard it, and I had read it this morning, and then I heard it on the way home listening to John and Jim, as I mentioned, and I was like, oh, man, he was spicy. He definitely was spicy. He's like, yeah, everybody thinks, we can't play in the weather. Like, he was really, he was letting everybody, he was crowing a bit. He was definitely crowing, peacocking, whatever. He was letting everybody know exactly, that he's aware, and, people think we can't play in the rain and the weather's always good here, but we're nasty and we're nasty up front. So he was definitely reveling a bit in that as well. I would suggest to you, if I were a San Diego State fan, I would probably like it. I would like it. But again, I also think too, it's like, I think the thing that I most like pointing out is, because again, I also listen to John and Jim, and we appreciate that. Like, we appreciate, John Schaefer jumped into the Discord.
Yeah.
And like, that's a cool thing to have the voice of the Aztecs and a guy with a local radio show jump into the Discord conversation. What I mostly find amusing, again, and I do think you should win a conference title. You should celebrate that. You can beat a Power 4 school. You should celebrate that. Fresno State, Boise State, etc. The other thing, though, is, I do laugh because there is irony here. Like, there is real irony in San Diego State winning with this style, which is often now, like you said, it's like a Rocky Long team. Again, and we don't have to compare them to Rocky Long teams from 2012 or whatever with Donnell Pumphrey and Rashad Penny. But this was a style of football that they've openly talked about wanting to distance themselves from. That is the part that I find most amusing, is that they are winning with the style that they swore like they had to move on from, because even though it was successful and they won 3 Mountain West Conference titles and, a share of a couple of other ones, they went to bowl games like 10 out of 11 or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds right.
You can go back and I looked up a story that was written about Sean Lewis coming in. Hold on. I just had a sandwich and peppers in my throat. So, JD Wicker's like, I have it in front of me. It wasn't something, that it had to be. It was something that I think we heard from our student athletes. It's a different game now. Kind of turning a little bit, finding a way on the offensive side of the football to be more exciting. That's going to help with recruiting. It's going to help with the fan base. JD Wicker said that he got a lot of what he called love letters from fans saying that, like, listen, this, this product, it ain't it. It's not that exciting. And it's just this long story. It was written by the late Bryce Miller. It was a good story about how San Diego State, even though it had success playing an old school style, like this old school ground and pound and in the trenches, but now they're bringing in a guy here who's going to revolutionize things. He's going to modernize things. And, it is funny. It is funny that they are winning with a style that is a version of the style of offense that they claimed that they wanted to get away from. Now, you can give credit to Sean Lewis that he shows versatility in coaching, that he can win in more ways than one. I suppose that there's some truth in that.
He deserves credit for that. He definitely deserves credit for that.
He's not making a bad quarterback throw the ball 40 times in a game, right? And I think that there should be something said for his versatility and his range and his ability to coach in a style that they most definitely did not sign up for. But let us not pretend like this is about people like you and me just nitpicking about San Diego State's success when they themselves have openly said, we want to get away from this. Now, if you have success with it, great. Maybe it'll manifest, it'll turn itself into the kind of success that we would have associated with Sean Lewis. But that's not how this is happening. And I don't know how they close the gap on Boise State. Who's to really say? Boise State has lost 4 times. So, what gap are you closing on that? They deserve all the credit, John. They're going to win a Mountain West. I mean, they're going to host a Mountain West conference game. I think that's a big deal. And I think that should be a good deal. But, pointing and yelling at us because we're like, yeah, I don't, maybe it's not the most convincing thing that we've ever seen. I don't know. Like maybe, I mean, somebody who is it? Big Tech SD on the Discord channel is like, well, how can you claim you never go to these games? To me, what difference does it make if I go? What difference does it make? I didn't go to San Diego State.
I just had someone send me a tweet. Literally in the last hour, I had someone send me a tweet that says, just listen to Friday's Section 1904 podcast. John Gennaro, where did you go to school? Clearly it wasn't San Diego State. Who the fuck cares? Like, where I went to school change my opinion about the football team that I'm watching? Like that's so irrelevant. But this is the important thing. You mentioned wanting to play a more exciting brand of offense, and JD Wicker said it would help with recruiting. Tell me you saw the thing where Sean Lewis said there was over 150 potential recruits at this game that they were trying.
Guys. Did they give them umbrellas?
Right. They're getting soaked in the pouring rain. And I just want to, like, if you're a wide receiver and you're sitting watching that, you're never, I would leave at halftime. Like, there's no way I'm going to this team if I'm a wide receiver. You would have to literally pull every other offer off the table except for maybe like Navy and Army for me to sign up as a wide receiver to go to the school after watching that game. Same is probably true of the quarterback. Like any prospective quarterback just sitting there going like, so I'm just going to hand the ball off 48 times a game? Like I understand the weather, but this is probably their only time coming to San Diego. It's their only time coming to Snapdragon Stadium. It's their only time experiencing the Aztecs in person. And what they saw is this team does not throw the ball.
Right. But that's the other thing too. It's real easy to say, well, you guys are talking about this game. Did you see the weather? I did see the weather. I wouldn't have left my house to go to that game. But we're not talking about one game. We're talking about a team now that has played 10 times and has a passing attack, John, that is ranked 100. I think it might be worse. 117. So that is not about one game. You could say what you want about, hey, it doesn't matter how you won this game. I would agree with that. It does not matter how you won this game. Now you got the inside track to host in the Mountain West, and you're a game ahead of Boise State with the bullet. But it is not about that. It is about what has happened for 10 games. That's the thing I think that you could rightfully point to and say, like, this does feel like it's 10 years ago again, but that was not the plan. That was not the plan. Hopefully, if you're a quarterback, Sean Lewis can go and say, hey, listen, I'm figuring out ways to win these games. Imagine how much you can help me. Clearly, there's nothing standing in your way. I want to throw the football. Did you see Did you watch Shador Sanders? Did you see some of that when I was at Colorado? Did you see some of the games that I had at Kent State? Now it hasn't worked at San Diego State yet, but that's what I would be saying if I were Sean Lewis, assuming, of course, that he's going to be here next year. I'd be saying, hey, listen, imagine if I had a quarterback. Again, like, oh, there's been some injuries. Yeah, okay, I can appreciate that, 100%. I don't really care about the game on Saturday. That's the thing that I think some people are missing. I don't necessarily care about that. It's that this season we have not seen exactly what it was that we thought we were going to see, and maybe it's going to happen at some point. I expect it's probably not going to happen this year. So from that standpoint, I think it's fair to say like I've seen this version before. I knew it was really good. How good is this? I don't know. I mean, Cal is 10th in the ACC. Fresno State had never been shut out at home. It's a big deal. Feels like a big deal. And Boise State was starting a backup who, had looked like he was just looked like he had no clue what he was doing. They had no trust in him whatsoever. And the weather, of course. So I don't take anything away from them. Nothing at all. But I'm not the problem. Me not going to games isn't the problem. The fans of the team. I root for them to win. I root for them to win. Why? Because a lot of San Diego State fans have listened and supported my radio show over the years.
Yep.
I think a lot of San Diego State fans probably support this podcast.
They do.
I'm rooting for John Schaefer to call big games. I think, ships rise in a high tide. Good sports is interesting. It's much better than the alternative. But it has nothing to do with me going to a game. I mean, nothing at all. The message that gets sent by San Diego State fans is that it's not good enough for people that went to school there. So you shouldn't really be worrying about me and my attendance. I think you should just try to convince other people this is a lot of fun. Like create that atmosphere that people want to go to it. It's a great lesson learned this weekend, John, I thought, from the Irish national team, in that people just were celebrating a team that was dead as a doornail on Thursday when it was World Cup qualifying. And it just was a reason to feel proud for Irish soccer for the first time in a decade. And, then the team wins at home against Portugal, and then it goes on the road and it wins against Hungary. And, now all of a sudden it's like, well, they have a chance. They have a chance now going into the World Cup qualifying playoff to win a couple more times. And maybe, who knows what could happen. But it just started with we're going because we're just proud. We just want to experience a moment. And, they had that moment on Thursday against Portugal, which kept them alive for qualifying. And then they went to Hungary, where they were trailing not once but twice in a crazy atmosphere in front of Viktor Orban, by the way. President of Hungary was there. Could imagine how that reaction might have been. But, and it just was a great thing about sports, to watch these guys go out there and say, we're just going to go do it because we're proud to do it. And it was my favorite thing of the weekend, not just because I'm rooting for the Irish national team, but just because it just represented everything that I truly believe about sports. You know what I mean? And I wish that San Diego State fans had some of that to them. Not well, we're not going to make the college football playoff, so what's the point? Who cares if you make the college football playoff? Your alma mater is giving you something to be proud of. That should be enough, you would think. But I don't know. Instead, it becomes more about you and me not going to games, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, or me not attending San Diego State. To wrap up a point that both you and I were making, the Aztecs are averaging 160 passing yards a game, which is nothing. It's almost entirely nothing. It is in the bottom, I'd say 15 of all of Division I college football. I mentioned Army, Navy. Army's averaging 80 passing yards a game. That's pretty standard for Army. Navy's up to 140, so pretty close to SDSU's 160. And Air Force is 159. So San Diego State's offense right now is basically the Air Force offense. And those military academies, they play a style of football that is not modern, and they do it on purpose because of how they have to go about recruiting and the types of players that they get. San Diego State is not a military academy. They don't need to be playing this way. I think what's frustrating to me and this sucks because they're 8-2. What's frustrating to me is it's pretty obvious that the quarterback is not that good, but they just don't seem to have another option. They have Burt Emanuel Jr., who they trust to run but not throw. Like, he's a running core. He probably should have went to Air Force. And it's like, there was just never another option of, like, if this guy can't complete a 7-yard pass, we'll bring in this other kid who we know can complete a 7-yard pass. They just don't have any other options. And so they're stuck with this team that feels like every other SDSU team, where it's like, we can beat you with our defense and our suffocating running attack. And I think someone texted me, like, they were down 14 points, I think 17 points to Hawaii. And someone texted me and they were like, game's over. They're not built to come back. They're just not a team that can compete unless they get a lead. And that just sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it sounds very familiar to some of the stuff that was said when Rocky Long was the head coach. I mean, again, like I talk to Rocky as much as anybody, like I had him on the show all the time. And I really grew to appreciate that Rocky's like, this is how we're going to play. This is just how we're going to win. We used to make a joke like, will an Aztec quarterback throw for 200 yards?
I wonder if one has this year.
I think once, and I think that was the game where you and I disagreed. You really thought like a signature game was the win against Cal, and I thought it came the following week or the 2 weeks later because they actually, their offense looked really, really good, and it looked dynamic and it looked really well balanced. Now, again, the circumstances I think suggest that they need to be doing things a little bit differently. So I'm not trying to crush them. I mean, their success should be celebrated, but it just, it is kind of funny. Does nobody else see the humor in this? That like we're back to where we were from a couple of years ago.
That's why it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I like pointing out. And if this is the way you got to win the Mountain West, then go ahead and win the Mountain West this way. And who cares if you go to the college football playoff? Like I said, I realize I'm kind of all over the place. This is why we do the show in the mornings.
Yeah.
But, watching Ireland in this World Cup qualifier, they were not thinking like, oh, okay, we're going to beat Portugal at home and then we're going to beat Hungary. And then we're going to be in this position where we might be 2 wins away from qualification. It was like, we're going to go out there and we're just going to play against Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo, the number 5 team in the country. We're going to go out there and we're going to give people a memory. We're going to give people a moment. And they provided that. And it was great. There were images of fathers and sons and brothers and the celebrations of how good it felt for the first time in a long time to really be proud of Irish soccer, which hadn't done jack shit in 10 years, which hasn't been in a World Cup since 2002. Okay. Long time. And, it was a moment. And then the moment turned into Sunday scoring in the 6th minute of stoppage time, to eliminate Hungary. And I just thought like, God, nobody's going, well, it's not going to matter if they don't qualify. Nobody's saying that. Well, it's not going to matter if San Diego State doesn't go play in the college football playoff. Why would anybody think that way? Can't people just enjoy this just for what it is? I mean, it's 8-2. It's not always been the most fun. Sometimes it's been a little bit of a rough watch, but they've figured out this is what we have to do. This is how we have to win. Lucky Sutton has become a name. He has become a name that I did not know 3 months ago. It's a name that we now know today. So, good for him. Do I put him up there with the pantheon of great San Diego State running backs? Probably not. But what difference does it make, right? Like, just enjoy it and better days ahead, I suppose. But yeah. I don't know. It just feels like I don't know why. Like, why it can't just be enjoyed, I guess.
I mean, and that's not.
I mean, like, why we can't say like, listen, that game was really kind of,
ugly win,
forgettable, but had the most important thing is they got the win.
This is why, and I apologize for opening this door. Please slam it as soon as I'm done opening it. But like, this is why we have conversations about attendance. It's an 8-2 team. The people should be able to go and be like, I want to watch this team win a game. But whether it's the ticket prices or how unsexy the offense is or the parking or whatever, there's always some reason that people can give to just like not just enjoy it. And you're right. It's an 8-2 team. And I shouldn't say no one. I am rooting very, very hard for this team to make the college football playoff, despite the fact that I don't think that that's possible. I'm rooting very hard because, to your point, it would potentially create a moment. I remember Kansas State beating Oklahoma in a bowl game and Darren Sproles going crazy on an Oklahoma team that they had no business beating. I remember that. I remember, oh crap, I'm not going to remember the name. What was the Division II team that beat Michigan years ago? People still talk about them.
Appalachian State.
Appalachian State. I remember Appalachian State
The
beating
Fighting
Michigan.
Daniel Jeremiahs.
The Fighting Daniel Jeremiahs. There are moments, and I want San Diego State to have a moment this year. And that's maybe that's what I mean by like, I keep waiting for a moment where I could be like, okay, the team is good, or this is who they are, or this is how I'm going to remember them. And so far, by the way, you're right. They had a very impressive offensive game against Colorado State where Jaden Denigal threw for 256 yards. He has not come anywhere close to that in any of his other games, passing wise. But yeah, I just want something that tells me that something to remember this team by. And look, maybe it's going to come in a Mountain West Conference Championship game, right? Maybe that's the whole point. That game's got bigger stakes. It's easier to remember. You face better competition. Maybe that's it. I just want one thing that I can take away from this season that's not like, you know, we ground the other team to dust and waited long enough until the clock ran out.
Yeah. Again, you could say, hey, listen, this has been a lot of fun and it's much better than the alternative. I don't know how good it really is, but I think people should probably embrace it, especially San Diego State fans and people that went to school there. You know, I mean, I've been to plenty of San Diego State games. I don't think I'm the problem here. But at any rate, that's probably more than we should have done on San Diego State, to be frank. Padres made a little bit of news today. Kyle Hart, it was announced this morning, is back. The Padres initially, I think, had declined the option that they had, so a little bit of maneuvering here, but he is back. John, I saw that you wrote about this. I didn't get a chance to read it because I was watching a very spirited scrimmage from SDFC. Can I just say real quick?
Please.
Their backups play like they're playing the World Cup final on Sunday.
Really?
It really is inspiring to watch Ima Boateng running around out there and Tomas Angel, guys that even haven't made the squad in weeks, running around like they're preparing for a World Cup final on Monday night. But you wrote a little bit about Kyle Hart. This is the only Padre news that we have. What storyline have I missed here?
I mean, Padre fans, at least the ones that live on social media, are like upset about this because they're like, "Oh, that guy sucked." And I looked through the numbers and I dug through, and what I found out was that Kyle Hart, who a year ago was still like in the Korean baseball league, he signed with the Padres. He came over. He had a rough go as a starter. He went down to the minors. He came back as kind of a mop-up guy. He went down to the minors. Then he came back as a relief guy. And every time he came back, he was a little better than the time we previously saw him. And the last time we saw him, his numbers got quite good. And his fastball improved by like 3 miles an hour. His sweeper, which I think is a pitch that he found great success with in the KBO, but had to make adjustments to. His sweeper was like falling off a table by the end of the year. He was a very effective relief pitcher by the end of the year. And I said, look, they declined the $5 million club option on him and then signed him back. Last year, he was making $1.5 million. Let's say he's making $2 million this year. He is a potentially good left-handed relief pitcher, and he has shown an ability in the past to be a potentially good starting pitcher. Not a incredible whatever, but like when they signed him last year, everyone's like, yeah, that could be a number 5 starter. That would be fine. All of that is still there. He spent a year basically adjusting and responding to the coaching and getting pretty good. And all I said was $2 million or whatever it ends up being is not a lot of money to spend on a guy who could be a good reliever, potentially a good starter, and at the very worst is like a mop-up guy out of your bullpen and a spot starter who could eat innings, because Lord knows they have innings that need to be eaten this season. So I was like, what I called it was a high upside, low downside signing. You're not spending a lot of money. And Kyle Hart showed you at the end of last year that he could be a good pitcher in Major League Baseball. I think that's fine.
Yep.
Everyone else is screaming like, this is stupid. Why would they? It's fine. They have so little money to play with right now from what has been reported that finding a guy that can just eat innings for $2 million is worth it. A guy that has shown at the end of last season to have a pretty good, almost unhittable sweeper who showed improvement on the velocity of his fastball. I'm paying $2 million to see what that is. I'd like to know if that's real or not. And I think it's a good signing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think the people who are screaming about it are the people who watched Kyle Hart start, in March or April of last year and made up their minds that this guy sucks. And they're never going to change their mind about him.
Are people really screaming about it?
Some people.
People are this passionate, or is this just some sort of commentary about? We see there hasn't been a lot of free agent moves, but this is it. This is what we're doing. It sort of comes across a little bit like snark more than it does anybody actually being upset that it's Kyle Hart coming back to fill in some sort of role where he might spend some time in AAA.
It's a little bit that the most common response I saw to the news was Padre fans going, why? Why bring Kyle Hart back? It's like, if you don't understand that A, there's some potential there, but B, more importantly, they have so many innings that they need to have associated with a pitcher on the mound, then I can't help you. So I don't know. I'm hopeful for Kyle Hart. I don't think there's any world in which this is a disaster. It's fine.
It's fine, honestly. Like it. I don't know why anybody would feel emotional about this one way or the other. Does Ruben Niebla want him back?
Probably. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't be back. Also, his I think it's his wife does like a really good. She's got like a really good social media account where his family is always bouncing around San Diego doing stuff, and she's following the family. So, always glad to have the good social media families around.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be the big off-season acquisition.
No, probably not.
If it is, circle back. Then maybe we're talking about reason for Padre fans to feel upset. But I'm guessing that's probably not going to be the case. Just a hunch on my behalf. So, all right. I don't have a ton else. Like I said, we're real late in the day, and the sun is actually going down. I actually do have to go put some furniture covers back on my furniture because I think it's supposed to rain again tonight. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think at least up here, it's like 7, 8 o'clock. The rain's going to kick back on. I think it's supposed to rain all through tomorrow as well, and then clear up for a day or two after that. Did you said before I press record that you were thinking about putting together some NFL questions for me? Did you put together NFL questions for me? Because I would enjoy trying to answer them, because it would be a funny way of talking about just how irrelevant and weird this NFL season has been.
Can you name the 8 division winners?
Like the leaders right now?
Correct.
Oh, probably.
Who's on top of the AFC East?
The Patriots.
Who's winning the AFC North?
It's not the Browns. It's not the Bengals. Steelers?
Steelers, 6-4.
Okay.
Who's leading the AFC South?
The Colts. The Colts are good. I know that.
That is correct. The AFC West. No, I did tell you this before.
You did tell me that it was the Broncos.
So
I would have gotten
this
this wrong.
for the best record in the NFL.
I had no idea. Freaking Bo Nix. Like, this guy is so weird. He's like not really that good of a quarterback until the fourth quarter of every game when he turns into prime Tom Brady. This is interesting guy. All right, AFC I probably know better than NFC. NFC Eagles are probably leading the East.
Correct. By a wide margin, by the way. They're booing the Eagles in the first quarter of this game last night. They are 8-2. The Cowboys are 3-5. That's next.
3-5-1, Darren. Don't take that tie away.
NFC North, bit of a surprise team.
Not the Lions?
Not the Lions.
Not the Packers?
No.
Don't say Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears are 7-3.
No shit. I had
with a minus 6 point differential. But they've won 3 straight.
That's incredible. Okay.
NFC West?
I'm gonna just say the Rams for no reason.
Rams are 8-2. Seahawks are 7-3.
They're 8-2?
8-2. San Francisco 7-4. I feel like they have a season-ending injury every quarter. but they are somehow 7-3. NFC South. Do you care to?
I was waiting for this. I'm gonna assume it's Tampa Bay because I think those other 3 teams have been awful.
Well, Tampa is percentage points on top of the South, so you're right, but you're wrong. Carolina's 6-5. Carolina is tied with Tampa for most wins in the NFC South.
I'm sorry, 6-5 at the top of the division. Like they're
what do you want me to do?
It's so weird. I asked you before we got started if you knew who was leading the betting odds for MVP, and it's Drake May. And I'm like, how many people who watch the NFL casually, how many people that throw on Red Zone almost every week even know who Drake May is? And like before it was Drake May, it was Baker Mayfield. Like it feels so weird. I saw an article this morning that said like, yeah, the Chiefs are probably done this year. I was like, really? The Chiefs are just done? Like maybe this is a changing of the guard. Maybe this is where we feel old, but it's like you look around the NFL and it's like, where are the stars? Where's the big team? Where's the big coach? It just feels like every team is some shade of gray. And there is no good, and there really is no like terrible team. This is parity, played all the way out, where every team is just identically mediocre.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like, how do you even know like what an upset is anymore? That's the problem I have with this.
No idea.
Again, I know I'm blabbing on about Ireland beating Portugal, but like it was important that they beat a top 5 team. That hasn't happened in a really, really long time. There is one terrible team, though. It is the Tennessee Titans. And I guess there's probably an NFL storyline out there somewhere that the team with the best record is coached by Mike Vrabel. And the team with the worst record is the team that fired Mike Vrabel.
I've been saying that all year.
I suppose that's a storyline somewhere in NFL circles. I would guess. I probably am pretty late to that party, but that stands out to me that Mike Vrabel did coach that team at the bottom. Now he's coaching the other team that's at the top.
This is why, somewhat unfairly, this is why I wouldn't vote for Drake May as MVP. Is I'm just like, I don't know. Mike Vrabel went from one team to another team, and the record followed him. Like maybe Mike Vrabel is just a great coach.
See, these are questions that follow John around. Even when they have a good record, he wants to know, how good are you really?
Yeah.
How good are you really? How good really are the Patriots? How good really? I mean, it's okay, I think, to ask the question that you were asking about San Diego State. Like, how good are they? I don't know. Seems like a lot of things happen when they face some of these teams, but maybe that's the mark of a good team too.
I'm actually worried that the NFL is turning a little bit into, it's going to seem weird, it's turning a little bit into the NBA. I was explaining this to my wife the other day about how there are certain players that get referred to as 82-game players in the NBA and certain players that get referred to as 16-game players in the NBA. The 16-game players are the guys like Jimmy Butler, where it's like, yeah, he's going to be good during the regular season, but you're not going to see his best until the playoffs. I wonder if that's what like the Chiefs do now and the Bills do now. If they're just like, we're going to give you 60% effort in the regular season because we have to leave something in the tank for the playoffs because it's this whole other, or if these teams are just aging out and they're not very good anymore. I don't know. Maybe the Patriots are 9-2 because they're maxing out on effort, but they're going to get to the playoffs just like all of Mike Vrabel's Titans teams, and they're going to be completely overmatched by a team like the Bills, who all of a sudden are twice as good because the calendar turns to January. I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. Yeah, it's just a series of random results. It's a league of random results. It's what it feels like to me. Yeah, and then you throw in some dodgy officiating, injuries. It's hard to tell.
Why do people like betting on this league? I don't know.
I don't get it. Why would you? I mean, if it wasn't for fantasy, it would be a pretty easy thing to ignore across the board. All right, let's wrap it up. Like
we barely talked about SDFC. Let's talk a lot more SDFC tomorrow.
What do you want to talk about?
They got a playoff game coming. Why is it on Monday? That's my only SDFC question today. Why is the game on Monday?
Because SDSU plays home at Saturday. I think they want to have a little bit of time to prepare the field.
So the date was not set.
I don't think so. I don't know that for sure, but I thought we were gonna get the Friday window because a bunch of soccer players running around isn't going to do as much damage to a field, but I think they need some time to turn the field over. When our games end, they're immediately, goalposts come down. They have somebody out there with a power washer who is power washing the lines off the field. Like they've got a pretty good system down. But like by the time I'm done with the post-game show, one half of the field is completely without lines.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It is pretty impressive. And I would think it probably just takes a little bit of time to, to do whatever damage, to repair whatever damage might have happened from a different sporting event. So
it's just because of the SDSU home game. I was like, Monday
I
is such a weird game.
Yeah,
it's such a weird day for MLS.
Yeah, it's not helping my holiday travel plans. And what I was told too, just for people to prepare, and again, I don't want to keep talking about ticket sales for the rest of my life, but how quickly this game sold out is hard not to pay attention to. This game sold out within about 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The tickets are not on sale yet, obviously, if there is a conference final, but I've been told that if there is a conference final, it'll be, and this is where now you start thinking about the Monday, that it would be on Saturday at home.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The following week. So like a 5-day turnaround.
Correct.
Ugh. See, this is I worry about Mondays just because like I want to watch a game and then I want like a day to just like decompress about it. We're gonna watch the game on Monday and then come in on Tuesday and just react to it and have hot takes all over the place. But yeah, I also worry about it from that sense of like, is it screwing them in the, I don't know. Whatever. Win the game, worry about it then.
You'd like to be in the situation where you have to think about these things. It's just, what's so interesting is San Diego and Minnesota have absolutely nothing in common. Nothing. SDFC is obsessed with possession. Minnesota United is like, we don't give a shit. We don't even want the ball. You have the ball. We don't want it. You take it. We're better off without it. We're going to counterattack set pieces. So you take it. This is literally, John, number one, time of possession versus 30. They have nothing in common, which is what they have in common, is that there's no surprises here. It's two good coaches. Both teams have an identity. They could play this game tomorrow. They don't need to spend all week preparing. Like they could just play it tomorrow. They know exactly what it is that they're going to do. They know exactly what we're going to,
Wait,
like
do
there's
we know,
there's
do we know
not going
who's
to be
in
any
goal?
wrinkles into this.
Do we know who's in goal for SDFC?
Oh, it's going to be Pablo.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a minute for CJ. I mean, that's a guess. I was not told that. I would guess, John, you're probably looking at the same exact lineup that we saw last time for SDFC.
It worked. Why not?
Now, Godoy might be a question because Godoy's got to play for Panama tomorrow. So you might have to see how he recovers. But I will be surprised if it's not Pellegrino, Baird, Anders. You got to see how he recovers. But, man, he played, came in, checked in the 88th minute over the weekend. They play tomorrow. They win that game that they qualify for the World Cup, which would be pretty exciting for the Danes. So he's got to get back, but he's like a Energizer Bunny kind of player. He just wants to play more. He would play every day if he could because he's a machine.
He's better when he's well rested, though. He is willing to play at all times, and he's still good when he's tired, but he is better when he's well rested.
Jeppe, Valakari, I think for sure in the midfield. Valakari didn't play for Finland this window. I don't think it's going to be the same on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think they're, and again, now we'll never know. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens with Chucky Lozano. But I was thinking, I just feel like I know Mikey well enough that he's not gonna mess with a winning streak. You know, it's kind of crazy. Like they are preparing for another goalkeeper for the first time since October 4th. They have faced Portland, James Panthemis for their last 12 goals have come against the same goalkeeper. Which, it's just sort of bizarre to look at when you're going through the game logs.
And now you got to go face the best goalkeeper.
I asked Mikey about him. I said, what makes him good? Mikey gave me a very good answer on that one.
Did he say he's a psychopath? I'll wait. I'll listen on Wednesday.
He did mention the mind games.
He's crazy. And but you can tell it's a little performative because he knows he can get a result from it.
Here, you want something on Minnesota United? Since San Diego lost to them at home in that crazy game, right? Where they really were kind of running circles around Minnesota in the first half. They ended up out shooting them like 28-4 or something. Since that game, Minnesota's won 1 time. They've lost 4 times, and they've had 3 draws.
Whoa.
1, 4, and 3. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, that doesn't sound right, because they took 2 out of 3 against Seattle. That's the whole reason why they're in the semifinal. I'm picking nits here.
Penalties.
Technically, those are draws.
Yeah.
And you win them in penalty kicks, shootouts. So they've won one time at the end of regular time. They've won one time since beating SDFC 3-1.
Are we done with penalty kicks, by the way? Does it just
Nope.
Okay, so do they play? Is it like if they
No
reach
extra time until the MLS Cup final.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Huh. Okay. I will.
Then it's 30 minutes of extra time, and if no winner, then you go to penalty kicks.
Okay. I will prepare myself for penalty kicks.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? Minnesota is in the semifinal, and did not win a game because they won in penalty kicks at home, they lost in Seattle, and then they won a PK shootout in Game 3. So technically, if we're gonna again nitpick,
this is
soccer
their
snob talk. Then they actually didn't even win a game, and they're through to the next round.
But this is going to be their strategy against SDFC too, right? Like if you don't score, we don't score. We trust our keeper more than you trust yours. Let's go to penalties.
Maybe. Could be. I think that always sounds good. That sounds like the right strategy, but I think Portland probably came in with a strategy, and then Anders Dreyer blew it up in the 5th minute of the game.
Yeah, more of that would be good.
More of that would be good. I did ask Mikey what he makes, if anything, of SDFC being 15-0-1 when underscores, and he didn't think much of that stat. So
yeah, that's a weird one. I mean,
it is a weird
one.
It's like small sample size. I don't put much into it. Said, okay, so you don't just design the play to get unders to score early and say, okay, guys, we're home. He doesn't drop that play apparently, but yeah. I mean,
did you ask it that way, and did he laugh?
He just was like, yeah, I don't know. It's not one that he said something like, it's not one that impresses me, or something like that. Mikey's always filled with some of those. He'll think about it for a second, but then he's like, yeah, that's not really one that impresses me. So there, I gave you a little SDFC.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, they've won one time since they won here. Lost the Open Cup. They lost decision day to LA Galaxy. I mean, God almighty. They won 2 PK shootouts. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of form they're in. Who can tell? It's a single elimination game. These things are kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited. By the end of the week, I'm going to be vibrating.
It's going to be great energy on Monday night. I mean, the way the tickets sold, wow. I mean, wow. I was not prepared for that one, but good for them, man. Good for them. All right. We'll do it again Tuesday, normal time. Got a couple of guests lined up for later in the week, so we'll let you know who they are, but appreciate everybody hanging out. And this is not our normally structured show here today. Probably not the best advertising for Section 1904. Me babbling about Irish soccer and talking about San Diego State football, which again, I'm happy. Good for them.
It's a good team. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they're good enough to win the Mountain West.
Yes. Yes. Damn it. I should start phrasing it that way. They're good enough to win the Mountain West for sure.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, that should be a good thing. I think it should be embraced by more people, to be honest. But, hey, it is what it is. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody. Section1904.com is our website. You can check it out. Written stuff there. And again, appreciate it if you would consider supporting local independent media. We will do it again tomorrow, much, much closer to our